What's up, gang? Hope you're doing well. My hope is that this isn't another AI channel that we've been watching, but this is how I learn what channels are AI and what's good to watch and what's not. Sometimes we find some hidden gems, but this is Basketball Coaches Academy. Go like, go subscribe. Easy and effective basketball plays all coaches should be using. So I thought this would be a fun one to watch because I get questions all the time about plays and their effectiveness or what they should be teaching. This is always a good discussion piece, so get into it. I haven't seen this, by the way. I will say for smaller channels, try to get rid of your intros. No intro, just go straight into the video. That's a very old school thing, having like your branded intro and all that. Straight into it.
All of our players playing outside of the three-point line. Pretty self-explanatory here. We're playing 5 out, so 5 players outside of the 3. Now, the whole goal with the 5-out offense is to have your teams basically continuously moving without the basketball. We don't want anybody with a 5-out offense standing still, and that's really the goal of it, right? Through either screening or cutting, eventually somebody is going to get open for the basketball, and that is the message that you want to portray to your teams when you teach a 5.
I was gonna say, like, I don't know if he has like editing skills or whatever, but it'd be nice to put some words up there like, oh, your 5-out motion, make sure this. Then it was like, boom, download this, boom, download this. While you should always ABP, always be pushing, always be putting out your content, always be pushing your content. I get it. I do think what's really missing in basketball is these types of discussions. If you can just dress it up cleanly and nicely. I mean, look at our channel. Everyone's like, people are joining the Patreon and signing up as members. They just want the good conversation and the information. If you just put like, make a good video, then put all your links in the description. I think that's the best way to go about it. Sorry, I know this wasn't supposed to be the video.
So let's get into the specifics of what we're doing here.
Because people really get turned off with all the extra stuff.
So again, I mentioned before, we want all of our players to either screen or cut, and that's going to be the option that we continue to preach. So let's say we can start with getting the ball 1 pass away. We can pass from number 1 to number 3. How number 3 would get open, we'll talk about that in a minute, but let's just start off and say, hey, we can get the ball to number 3. Our option then for number 1 is to either screen or cut, right? As soon as the ball is out of your hands, you need to screen or cut. Okay, so let's say number 1 cuts for the basketball. They're going to cut, hands up, right? A big thing to preach is making sure you're given a target, hands up for the basketball. Ideally, we can get the ball to number 1 there for a cut to the basket, maybe an easy layup. But let's just say that doesn't happen. Then we're going to fill, right, away from the basketball, and then everybody's going to move up and fill a spot. 2 goes up to that original spot that number 1 was in.
Honestly, this does feel like the very old school motion offense. Nothing wrong with it, especially depending on the level you're playing. The motion concepts are slightly, like the building blocks for it are slightly different. He might teach like other cuts and other screens and other things. But again, I think the most important part in concepts are like your foundation of your offense. So one issue you have with this type of offense, 5 out in particular, and then you pass and cut. And I can already see like the way that like you want to face cut, right? And you cut to the opposite side of the opposite corner while 3 is looking to throw it. I'll see if he's saying ball screen or away screen. But one issue or like the foundation for me is I still think like dunker spot is really important because that opens up another spot on the floor without just being so predictable. It's like pass and cut, pass and screen. It gives a little post-up opportunity, rebound opportunity. It just keeps the players more engaged offensively. And the first thing you should be teaching is like floor spots. So I like to teach wing, corner. Some coaches are more specific and they're like slot or the seams or a little bit out of the corner at the knuckle. Like everyone's a little bit different, but whatever your principles are, like I think floor spots are more important. And then I usually take like the 5th player, I usually take them off and we just go those 4 floor spots. And you just have players like drive, kick, swing, drive, kick, swing, all that, and have them score. Next group on, drive, kicks. Just get them used to like moving and filling spots. And that can be something you practice the first couple weeks with your team. And then I like to have a 5th player that is the we say the post, but we just could do wings and guards. I just think there are only two positions. And honestly, if I'm coaching a high level, I probably don't have any positions. Like everyone's positionless, and you play with what you have, right? What to the strengths of your team. But I like to have a player that's kind of dedicated to top of the key, dunker spot, dunker spot. Now, depending on that player, you can change some things. If they're your best player and they can shoot, they can drive, they can do everything, well, we'll probably run a lot of options so everyone else understands how to drive and kick and shoot open shots, find the next one. And if this is your best player, well, we can get him the ball at the top of the key. He can drive. He can be making the decisions. He can throw it and set a screen. He can throw it and cut, throw it and post. He can do a bunch of things there. That's one option. If he's just a post player that's not really good handling the ball, well, you got 4 guys that are allowed to dribble, shoot, and drive. And this guy is like your screener, screen and roll, and he can post up on the backside, rebounder. It keeps a bad shooter from having to also be a guard, because this is like you have 5 guards, everyone plays the same position. Your teams just typically aren't that. So I like to play the 4 spots, and then you just have one player in the 5, and it's a 4 out, 1 in, or a 5 out, 0 in. But it kind of morphs just based on the just how your team is. If you're a team that has 2 of those players that you need to on the court at the same time, you can still run that, but then those 2 are allowed to be in that top of the key spot. They can also move to dunker spots. It frees up more space for your guards. So anyways, that was just a different look at how motion has kind of changed. That's basically the motion offense that you're seeing in the NBA. You're seeing overseas, seeing the WNBA, see all FIBA. College has gone to that. So this one that he's teaching is, I can already tell just early on, it's just a much more old school look at it, but it's still, you could tell there's some layers and steps there that he's added on to it, which is fine.
4 moves up a spot, 1 continues their
but just like even the V cut that he did, there's just not there's not a lot of reasons to need to V cut anymore. Again, that just those types of concepts watching, I could just already tell, and those are some things that we need to not change in America, but we just need to continue improving and teaching. Go watch a FIBA game and see how often players are V-cutting. It's something that we always teach and we always think about, but when you actually think about it at a high level, players aren't doing it. And then when you wonder why, it's like, oh, because it's more about like back cut, just fully back cut, or you can seal your man off. So we talk about arm in the chest and then an arm extended for the catch. It's about holding that position, and we want our guys outside the 3. We don't want guys cutting in here when 3's trying to drive, right? We don't want 4 cutting in for his V cut. The defender moves in with him and it clogs the paint. So you can just lift up, like when I talk about replacing, if there's a spot over here that's open and 2 cuts, well, he can just sprint out to that spot, right? Rather than like running to that spot and then V cutting again to get open. If you're not open, just stay out. Your guy's defending you. Well, that opens it up for 3 to drive either side, or we get our pick and roll here and we drive, and then there's no help because he's defending. So a lot of the concepts have changed. Sorry guys for this very long video.
Point line extended, and now we're reset back into a 5 out. Okay, as you've seen, when I had number 2 move up top to the 3-point line, they came in the key and popped out. That was their cut, right? So they just cut. They were not standing still. As they fill the spot, they cut for the basketball, which means chances are they're going to get open right here. So now we're reset again, right? We want our players to either screen or cut. Okay, before we go into what number 4 and number 3 will do, let's just say we can swing the ball over here to number 4. Right, so just then on our first pass, we had the player at the top of the 3-point line cut. Now let's say they screen. So number 2 is going to come over here now and set a screen for number 3 rather than cut to look for a pass. So number 2 moves to set a screen for number 3 right here. Number 3 is coming off that screen, and now they're looking for the basketball, and we are reset into a 5 out. Now, when they come off that screen, if they see that there might be a lane here to the basket, they can take that lane as well and look for it.
So yeah, this is kind of what I was saying. The old school way is more like, let's get open with the pass. Let's find a cutter cutting to the basket. But it's just the way the game is played now is like we're attacking with the dribble. And, you know, there was the dribble drive offense, which everything is predicated off the dribble, but it's a mixture, right? It's a mixture of finding guys with the pass, opening up lanes with our shooters. But really it's like teaching players to just like look for your option to drive 2 feet in the key, get the dominoes to fall, as Alex Sarama calls it. But once you get your advantage, like we want to keep advantage. So really it's about how simple can we keep advantage? If you have a 6'9" post player, the way you get advantage is just to throw it into the post because they're going to have to help, right? So our advantage when we play, throw it into the post. If you have a point guard who's really, really fast and can beat his guy one-on-one, the way you get an advantage, he just beats his guy. Guy gets 2 feet in the key, and now we're in advantage. If you have a team of really smart players that you have to like have good matchups on, pick and rolls are really good. If they can play out of the pick and roll and you have to defend it with hedging or blitzing or icing the screen and it forces you into rotations, that's another way. So it's just about identifying with your team what your advantage is. There's not a lot of teams at high levels having success. Honestly, I'm trying to think of any that are throw to the 4, hold the ball, watch this screen, doesn't have it, he pops, you throw it. It's just not happening anymore. It's not happening. And if you're playing at a low level, chances are the defense is going to be so bad that they'll probably run a zone if they're here in America, or they're going to be so bad they're not going to get caught up on these screens because they're not going to be guarding them properly. So that some of this stuff is just not going to open up. If the defense is so bad that that's happening, the best option is to just teach your players how to drive around players and get layups. At a really high level, when the defense is really good, the best way to break it open is for players to be able to drive around their player and get layups. So that's what I mean. At the lowest level, that's what works best. At the highest level, it's what works best. So we've got to do a better job connecting those groups. There's a group in the middle that's still really lost about, should I be keeping it simple? Is it about development? Is it about winning? Like lots of different things, right?
You know, it all kind of depends on where they're at in the game and, you know, how to read and react. But that's the whole thing with the 5-out motion offense, is that you're going to get multiple different situations that could happen, right? So now let's say the ball goes back up top to the 3-point line. What does number 4 do? And what does number 2 do after they make that pass back to reset the ball up top? Well, the same rules apply, right? We want number 4, number 2, these players up top, or whoever they are, whatever number they might be, to do the same thing, right? Either screen away or cut. So how can these 2 players screen? Let's go over those options. So we can set a down screen here, right, for number 5 to come up to the basketball, right, and receive it right here. Then we go into our 5-out motion offense. Okay, another thing that we can do is have this player cut toward the key for the basketball.
Sorry, my dogs are going crazy.
Right, with their hands up, looking for the ball. Maybe they can get a layup right here, something easy like that. Maybe they can, continuously move, and then number 5 can get open that way, and then we're back into our 5-out motion offense. There's multiple different ways you can go about it. Same thing with number 4, right? So the ball is right here. Number 4, instead of standing still, they can cut and look for the basketball. Maybe that's an easy layup, or maybe number 2's defender leaves number 2, right? We dish the ball off to number 2, whether that's in the dunker spot or at the 3-point line. Right, so there's multiple different ways we can go about it, but let's reset and go into it full speed again. So number 3 has the basketball. We don't want anybody standing still. So how are these guys going to get open? They have to screen or cut. So let's say they screen. All right, we have a down screen.
So the way I try to begin this with teams when I'm teaching
here
is instead of trying to teach them all the options, hey, you can do this, you can do that, you can do this. And that's what I mean. I think he's right with his concepts. He's not saying anything wrong. I'm just saying I've coached this literally to like hundreds of teams and seen what works, seen what doesn't. And that's kind of why my coaching philosophy has gone back to like, just keep it as simple as possible. And then you can add on as players get it, but some teams, some players, they'll never get it. So the most important basic fundamentals, like what's the most important thing, is that number 3, whoever this kid is, knows at the end of the day, if you're open, you shoot it. If you can get full speed 2 feet in the key to the right, you do it. If you can go full speed 2 feet in the key to the left, you do it. Then you make another decision. Okay, if it's a one-on-one, score it. If you got all the way here and it's one-on-one, you score. If you get here and draw the help, you kick it to where the help came from. So that's what we teach with the ball. Then you teach without the ball. Like I said, the floor spots is this spot filled? No, go fill it. Is this spot filled over here and you've just passed it? No, go fill it. You don't want to fill this side. There's already 2 guys there. There are options for if we get 3 people on one side, but again, we strip it back to the basics, fill those spots. And if the players can do that, you have a motion offense. If they can just do that, then you can add one thing at a time. And the way I like to start it is, we call it like our transition offense maybe. So the way we play this, we run our motion, we throw the ball to the left or we throw it to the right. This is not what my team runs. I'm just saying this is how I would start it. I would say we throw the ball, we go set a ball screen, we get 2 feet in the key and we either score, we kick it, or we lift up here and we kick it back. So the shake action, whatever it's called, right? So I would say that's our transition offense. So we try to do that. And once it breaks and we don't get anything, we're just in motion. Then you'll be able to teach those players maybe away. Instead of setting the ball screen, we set the away screen. Then you can teach them splits. Oh, let's go into splits action. You teach that. All these can be broken down into 3 into small sided games. So like 3-on-3, 3-on-0, 3-on-2, whatever. And you can teach those actions. And then after a season of that, all of these players know 3 actions out of motion, maybe 3. If you're at a high level, you can teach all of this within a week, 2 weeks. Most of us won't be at a high level. I'm telling you, most levels you coach at, if you can get through a whole season and your players know like 3 actions out of motion, you've done a good job. Then you can have your set plays. And then, so just play out of your motion as much as possible. And then you have your set plays for when you need to mix it up. And that's good enough. Honestly, that's good enough for any level of high school, It's what's really going to dictate your success is the skill work that you're working on with your players. So how confident are they with knocking down those shots when they catch them? How confident are they with catching the ball and making a quick decision, catch and shoot, catch and drive, catch and swing? How willing are they to play without the ball? So to pass it and then cut away and then be ready to shoot, go set a good screen. It's going to come down to your skills at that point. So I like this. I don't mind the video. I don't want to steal the whole thing, but I do want to see what his second offense is that he said he was going to run. We'll have a look. This looks like horns.
Complicated enough to that, it will get a player open, whether that's for a shot. Now, there are many different. Now, the next thing we're going to look at is a horns basketball offense. Now, there are many different ways to.
So again, I won't go in. Well, maybe we will. You guys like when I do long videos? Screw it.
Run a horns basketball offense, but I'm going to show a way that's kind of easy for teams of all age groups. You can see younger teams do this because it has just kind of the basic movements involved with basketball, but you'll see older teams do this because it is complicated enough to that, it will get a player open, whether that's for a shot or, for an easy layup. So let's take a look at this specific horns play. Now, a lot of horns basketball plays will start with some sort of entry pass to the post, but we're not going to do that today. We're actually going to use our 2 kind of bigger players on these 2 spots on the elbow that you'll typically see in a horns to set screens for other players. Okay, so what we're going to do is have number 4 set a good hard screen here for number 2, and number 2 is some.
And just quickly, this is why I think the method I was saying earlier of like what you need to teach first and why we teach it first. And when you're building your motion offense, you teach 1 action at a time and you get that down, your next action, get that down. The reason why it works so well and it's very efficient is because now when you start putting in your set plays, all those concepts will come into play and you can break out of it and go motion anytime. But right here, now we've got an away screen. And what is that? Pretty much we were talking about earlier. That's like our splits action, right? So it's 2-man game off the ball. And what I teach with this is one of you has to get to the basket and the other one has to come to the ball. So it'll be interesting to see what happens here on this play.
That you're going to want to be a shooter, right? Number 2 is going to be ready to shoot the ball. So they're coming off that screen around the 3-point line to receive the basketball. If this is a younger team, maybe you can make it a little bit tighter and maybe a little bit closer to the elbow. But generally speaking, they're going to curl for an outside shot. So number 4 is going down to set that screen for number 2 for an outside shot right there. So that's our first option, right?
And he didn't show the next part, but so 4, because 2 went to the ball, well, 4 would go to the basket. So all your concepts that you would be teaching in motion. And I've realized a lot of coaches don't know that. So I watched, okay, I'm going to do a full video on this probably by itself, but I watched a really interesting video yesterday. It was about AI, not Allen Iverson, but artificial intelligence. And it was just speaking about how Chat GPT, a lot of things that have been invented to make our life easier has actually made us dumber. And I think intuitively we know that, but it just talks about like using your GPS all the time when you don't need it. It just dumbs your brain down, and sometimes driving without your GPS is good. And it's something I think, you know, us older generation, we intuitively know that, but do we necessarily practice it? Probably not. I feel the same way about set plays. Coaches that have grown up with like set plays and very rigid actions and how you move really struggle with teaching players how to play. Again, that's why I think like teach your motion, teach your concepts, don't teach plays. Not because plays are bad, but again, it just puts players, I see this with our team. I see this with high school kids. I see this with young players that have only run plays their whole life. They don't know what they're looking for. So again, this horns set, I think if the play is to just run splits over here in our horns, it would almost, basically I would be like, hey, splits. I wouldn't be saying, hey, go set a down screen and then you lift up for the 3 and you shoot it. Right? Does that make sense? Those are two different things. I'm telling the kids splits action, go run it. And then they have some decisions to make based on how they're guarded, based on the matchup, based on who's on fire, based on whatever. But then this player also has a decision to make. I want him deciding, well, hold on. If two defenders are way over here really occupied with the 2 and the 4 man, can you drive to the basket and get 2 feet in the key like we were talking about earlier? And is it 1-on-1, go score? If you drive and then they help while the splits action is happening, you're going to have 2 coming up, lifting up. So all these things play together. So I don't want you to get bogged down, and nothing the coach here is saying is wrong, and nothing is wrong at all. I'm just trying to, I guess, advance our coaching here in America and just try and teach, like just because of what I've learned too. And I used to be the same way. Not as him, but I mean, as coaches in general, you don't know it until you've just coached it so much. And so I've found some shortcuts that work for me, might not work for you, and everyone's situation is different. So do what you're comfortable with. But I do promise you that you will hit a ceiling at some point if you only teach your players plays. There will be a ceiling that they just can't get past. But if you teach them how to play, you're going to start off lower and it's going to be more uncomfortable, but the growth will be exponential, and then their ceiling is going to be far higher. So that splits action out of your horns, if it doesn't work and it gets shut down, like your players can still play. If you throw it to 2, well, 1 would still cut out maybe to this side. 5 would be like, wait, where do I go? Well, you look, is this spot filled? Is this spot filled? Is this spot filled? Is this spot filled? You run to the open spot. And if that ball is over here with 2 and he catches it and he's not open, well, can I get 2 feet in the key? Can I drive and get a layup? Like all of your options, everything is still there. But your sets are supposed to try and take advantage of how the defense is guarding something. If you don't score, we're in our motion. We're still trying to keep our advantage. So I don't think this was a bad video at all. He's probably got a couple options out of horns. Horns, I do think, is a really good set to add in because you can do so many things out of it, and it's got really good spacing. We saw the stack action that the NBA is running. You can run that out of horns. So stack, horns is really good to have as like quick hitters. I like 5 out or 4 out, 1 in motion. I think those are 2 things that every team does need to have. So he's not clickbaiting and he wasn't lying in this video. I do like this. Go like, go subscribe. I'll probably watch a couple more videos on this channel. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of like these types of discussion pieces and conversations on offenses. And I would love to hear what you guys are running and what your thoughts are. How do you normally teach things? What order do you do it in? What's more important to you? Is it like, I just want my kids to be good enough so we can have success? Or is it like teaching them how to play and think for themselves, knowing that that's going to come with some losses and less security, like more risk, but possibly more reward? So what are your guys' thoughts on that? Always interested to hear. Anyways, take care. See you in the next one.